Most people think pain is the enemy. They think pain is something to run from, hide from, medicate, numb, or avoid at all costs. But let me tell you something that may flip your perspective. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is a signal. It's your body, your mind, your soul, calling out for alignment, for change, for growth. If you're in pain, you're alive. If you're hurting, you're still in the fight. And that pain you're feeling, it's rich with intelligence, packed with direction. You see, we've been taught to fear pain, to associate it with failure or weakness. But what if pain isn't a punishment at all? What if it's a messenger? What if pain shows up not to imprison you, but to wake you up? When you touch a hot stove, the pain doesn't come to harm you. It comes to alert you, to protect you from permanent damage. The same principle applies to emotional pain. When something hurts, it's because it matters. When you're in pain, it's often because something in your world is out of alignment with your values, your truth, your purpose. But here's the catching: most people never pause to listen. They just react. They try to shut pain up before they've heard what it's trying to say. And by doing that, they lose the lesson, they lose the redirection. Pain left unprocessed becomes suffering. But pain acknowledged becomes transformation. So when pain knocks on your door, don't slam it shut. Sit with it. Ask it questions. Get curious. What is this pain trying to show me? What belief this event challenged? I think I lost. What part of me needs to grow? Because pain is honest and lie. It doesn't, and it often reveals what we value most. If betrayal hurts, it's because loyalty matters deeply to you. If failure crushes you, maybe it's because your identity is tied too tightly to outcomes. The pain itself isn't the enemy. It's the meaning we assign to it that determines whether we stay stuck or move forward. Let me give you something to think about. Every breakthrough you've ever had, every big leap in your life, it was preceded by a moment of pain, a moment of struggle, a decision. Pain forces you to decide, am I going to evolve or am I going to stay the same? Am I going to use this or let it use me? The people who rise, who find unstoppable purpose, they don't avoid pain. They lean into it. They extract its wisdom. They let it carve out new dimensions of strength, empathy, discipline, clarity. They understand that pain is part of the human contract, but how we respond to it, that's the part we get to control. When you reframe pain as a signal, not a sentence, you begin to take back your power. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to teach me? You start recognizing pain as a portal, a sacred opportunity for self-inquiry, growth, and renewal. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean pain is comfortable. Growth rarely is, but it is meaningful. And meaning is what gives life depth. If you're walking through something right now, grief, heartbreak, disappointment, rejection, don't rush past it. Sit in it. Let it shape you. Let it deepen you. Because on the other side of that pain is a version of you haven't even met yet. Stronger, wiser, more aligned, more on purpose. You don't need to run from pain. You need to learn how to listen to it, to understand its language, because pain is not your jailer. It's your guide. And when you stop seeing pain as the thing that broke you and start seeing it as the thing that you built you, that's when everything changes. The quality of your life is not determined by how much pain you avoid, but by how much wisdom you extract from it. So remember, this pain is not here to punish you. It's here to prepare you. The sooner you stop running and start listening, the sooner your pain will point you directly to your purpose. Here's the truth most people don't realize. What destroys your progress is not the pain itself. It's the meaning you attach to that pain. The human brain is always assigning meaning to things. It can't help it. We're meaning-making machines. But most of the time, we do it unconsciously. Something painful happens, and without even realizing it, we tell ourselves a story about what it means. And that story becomes our reality. You lose your job, and you don't just feel the loss. You start telling yourself, I'm not good enough. A relationship ends, and it's not just heartbreak, it becomes, I'm unlovable. You fail at something, and suddenly it's, I'm a failure, but none of those meanings are facts. They're stories. They're interpretations. And if you don't challenge them, those stories will run your life. Here's the dangerous thing: once you believe a story long enough, you stop questioning it, it becomes part of your identity. And that's when pain turns into limitation. Not because the event had power, but because the meaning you gave it became your truth. And if you're not careful, you'll build your entire future around a past you never truly examined. But here's the good news: you have the power to rewrite the meaning. You have the ability to choose a different lens, because meaning is never fixed. It's flexible. The same experience can either break you or build you depending on the meaning you attach to it. Think of Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. He lost everything, his family, his freedom, his dignity. But he refused to surrender the one thing they couldn't take from him, the ability to choose how he would interpret his suffering. He said, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. That's power. That's what we're talking about. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can absolutely control the meaning you assign to it. That's not just mindset. That's mastery. That's how you take a wound and turn it into wisdom. That's how you take heartbreak and build compassion. That's how you turn pain into purpose. Let's take an example. Say you were abandoned as a child. That's a deep pain. But you can live your whole life believing, I'm not worthy of love. And everything you do will reinforce that belief. Or you can say, that experience gave me the strength to create a different kind of love in this world. It taught me empathy. It taught me what not to do. Same event, radically different meaning, and one of those stories liberates you while the other chains you down. This isn't just about positive thinking. This is about psychological responsibility. This is about taking ownership of your story. Because when you realize that you are the author, not the victim, you stop living in reaction and start living in intention. Look around. Every extraordinary person you admire has faced extraordinary pain. But what makes them who they are is not what happened to them. It's what they made it mean. It's the way they chose to transform their story. Oprah, Nelson Mandela, Malala, they didn't get to rewrite the past, but they sure as hell chose how it shaped their future. The same is true for you. You get to decide whether that pain becomes your prison or your platform, whether you bury it or build from it. And that decision starts the moment you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what can this mean for me? So take a look at the pain in your life. The big ones, the quiet ones, the ones that still sting when you breathe. Ask yourself, what story have I been telling myself about this? And is that story helping me or holding me back? You can't change the past, but we can choose to assign it a new meaning, one that empowers you, uplifts you, and propels you forward. Who pain doesn't define you, your meaning does. And when you choose meaning that fuels your future instead of chaining you to your past, you become unstoppable. That's how you transform pain into purpose. That's how you take control of your story. Let's talk about something we all wrestle with. Ownership, not just ownership of our goals or our careers, but ownership of our inner world. Because here's the bottom line, pain is inevitable, but staying stuck in pain is a choice. That choice is often unconscious, but it's a choice nonetheless. What transforms pain into purpose is radical ownership. The moment you say, this happened, and now I'm responsible for what I do with it, that's the moment your healing begins and your power returns. It's easy to live in the shadow of your pain, to point at what happened and say, that's why I can't, or that's why I'll never. But when you live that way, you're putting your life in the hands of the past. You're saying the worst moment of your life gets to dictate every moment that comes after. And let me tell you something, your past can inform you, but it should never control you. See, the difference between people who break through and those who stay stuck isn't that one group experienced less pain. It's that one group made a decision. They decided to own their experience instead of being owned by it. They said, this is mine. It happened. It hurt. But now I get to decide what I do with it. That's not denial. That's leadership. That's inner leadership. And until you take full ownership, you'll keep waiting for someone or something to change your life. But when you step into ownership, you realize no one's coming. You're it. And that's the most empowering realization there is. You don't have to like what happened to you. You don't have to pretend it was fair or easy. But if you want to grow through it, you've got to stop waiting for justice, closure, or validation. Those things may never come. The world isn't always fair. But you can be free without fear. You can rise without revenge. Because healing is not about rewriting history. It's about reclaiming authorship of your life. Think about someone like Bethany Hamilton, the surfer who lost her arm in a shark attack. She could have given up. No one would have blamed her, but she didn't. She said, this is part of my story, not the end of it. And she got back on the board and kept surfing. That's not just resilience. That's radical ownership. She didn't let the shark write her ending. She took the pen back. Every person has that pen. Every person has the ability to say, I may not have chosen what happened, but I choose what happens next. That shift in identity from victim to creator is the single most important transformation you'll ever make. Because once you own your story, your pain becomes a tool. It becomes leverage. It becomes the very thing you use to help others, to lead, to love, to serve. Ownership is not about blame. It's about power. Blame keeps you tied to the past. Ownership pulls you forward. It says, this is where I am, and from this place I will rise. When you own your pain, it can no longer own you. It becomes fuel instead of a chain. And here's something even deeper. When you truly own your experience, you stop needing everyone else to understand it. You stop needing permission to heal. You stop explaining your worth to people who were never meant to validate it in the first place. You stand in your truth. Not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. That's freedom. That's strength. That's purpose. So ask yourself right now, what area of my life am I still outsourcing to my past? Where am I still saying, I can't because they did? Or, I'm stuck because it hurts. And then ask the bigger question, what would it look like to take full ownership, not to fix everything overnight, but to stop waiting and start leading? Your pain doesn't disqualify you, it qualifies you. But only if you're willing to own it. Own the mess, own the lesson, own the future. Because when you own your story, you don't just survive, you lead. You don't just recover, you rise.